listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Erin.
I'm Bree.
And I'm Rachel.
And we are coming up on the summer months and warm weather, and even in social distancing era, that means it's beach weather, which brings up the question of beach bodies, which is a kind of terrible thing to talk about with a lot of people, which means we're going to talk about it because why not?
That's what we do.
So, Bree, this one's yours. We're talking about stewardship of the body, and where do you want to start?
So, it is, like you said, it is swimsuit season, and given my experiences and sort of my beliefs and my involvement in the body positivity movement, this is about the time of year that causes me to reflect a little bit about, you know, I see Facebook post after Facebook post of women who they're trying to lose that last 3 pounds or that last inch around their waist because they want to fit into this swimsuit for vacation, and, you know, people criticizing others because their body is quote unquote not ideal for a 2-piece bikini, or, you know, so it's at this point of the year where I'm just kind of like a little bit anxious, and my body positivity radar is like blinking and red flags. And so I figured that I am going to tell you why you need to stop doing that. I'm here to challenge the whole swimsuit season, beach body, whatever you may be struggling with in your life for a myriad of reasons. I will say at the start of this, much of the opinion, I mean, I'm gonna be spitting facts here, but most of my worldview as it is pertaining to body positivity, it comes from 30 years of body dysmorphia, self-esteem issues. I am a recovering addict of exercise. I'm recovering from eating disorders. So, like, I don't want to drag it down with that, but those experiences have basically shaped who I am today and have shaped the need I feel like to communicate with people that your body is your body and it's beautiful and deserves thankfulness to God for it. And so, especially now when we're thinking about, okay, am I going to look good in a bikini this summer? Now is as good a time as ever to talk about stuff like that. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is some of the issues that the society has with quote unquote normal bodies. Okay. I saw an industry report on Business Wire that said last year, the weight loss and diet control industry, which is anything from like gym memberships to diet pills to diet foods to multi-level marketing schemes, bariatricians, etc., that's a $72 billion market in the United States right now. And so, yes, there are things in that list that are helpful, that are beneficial, that are a part of healthy habits. But it leads me to question why someone would want to engage and buy some of those things and have some of those procedures done. It comes down to, are you trying to stay healthy? Are you trying to look good? I mean, we see this every day. You have workouts that have specific objectives to, like, have a booty like such and so by Thursday, or get washboard abs like this one celebrity in 3 easy weeks.
As a personal trainer, I am triggered by those things.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like,
when I worked in this industry in a past life, there were people that came to me saying, I want smaller arms. And I'm like, well,
right.
Let's talk about that.
Right. So
can't just like do bicep curls and get smaller arms. It doesn't
not
work.
How the body works. And so I do think, we blame these like ambiguous terms like society and the media, and when I talk about that, I think I'm talking about overall like our psyche and things that have been ingrained into us about what is beautiful, what is aesthetically pleasing. And we haven't done enough, I feel like, as a society to basically normalize normal bodies.
You know, though, I gotta say, this pandemic is doing good things for that because you're getting to see all these celebrities at home without their teams of makeup people um, in their hoodies. And it's really bringing them down to like real world terms. I mean, yeah, many of them are still very good looking people, but not the like completely barely human levels of good lookingness when they're coming at, coming at you through a Zoom camera that their, significant other has put on a tripod right in front of them. So it's been really, really great to sort of see people looking at celebrities looking like normal people. I like
Right.
that.
And embracing it. I think
Yeah.
that that's very refreshing. Like, and I do think even prior to COVID-19, we have sort of seen this shift away from like the airbrushed supermodel looks in your magazines, and you're seeing normal bodies modeling. You're seeing people, and it might even be um, normalizing, like having models in wheelchairs, like things that really disrupt your digestion of visual imagery, serving in these very like traditional model roles. We see that starting to happen, and I think that that's very refreshing because I think when you look at sort of the airbrushed supermodel, when you're looking at it from that perspective, I think that that is playing a significant role in sort of this $72 billion diet control weight loss industry. So I think we are, as a society, we're starting to shift the paradigm of saying, okay, if we're going to market to people, let's not market them in, with visuals of people with bodies we can't even expect to attain by any stretch of the imagination. So I guess my admonition to all of you out there, and this is easier said than done, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but embrace the body that you've been given. If you have cottage cheese thighs, you got stretch marks, you got skin discolorations, you got scars, you got rolls, you got whatever. And I mean that
Muscles?
is characteristic of larger people. Like people on the smaller end of the spectrum too have their own sort of, we look at these different characteristics and we're like, ew, don't do it. It's a normal body. It's beautiful and it's good.
Yeah,
That is
I
a
mean,
hard thing.
we say that Lutheran looks a lot of different ways. You can extend that to beauty too.
Yep,
Beauty
you're
looks a
absolutely right.
lot of different ways. And we have a lot easier time accepting this when it comes to matters of like height than weight. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if someone is short and the standard of beauty is tall, we accept that because, we say, well, you can be beautiful short, no problem there. But when it comes to skinny versus heavy, you know uh, that is, we don't accept that, and we should, because beauty is beautiful.
Right. And it's biblical. We are, all of us, all created beings are good because God made them. And we are beautiful because we are God's creation. He said that we are the peak of that creation. And so you read in Psalm 139, for you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. So, that said, regardless of whatever physical flaws you feel like you have, you are still a creation of God, made in His image, and you are beautiful. So keep that in mind if you're ever feeling self conscious about how you look in a certain pair of jeans or a bathing suit, period, because there is more to you than how you look in certain things. don't let that sort of take away from living your life.
I
And
think
so,
that's something that the Christian community has a unique perspective on all of this because of those of what we find in scripture about us being fearfully and wonderfully made and about being God's creation, God's people. That is such a different spin on body positivity than the world will give you and that culture will give you, because it isn't just about physical appearance for the sake of physical appearance. It
Right.
is a body given to you by a loving God. And we'll get to this later, but that's why we take care of these bodies.
Sure,
yeah.
absolutely.
And so many of the things that we think are wrong with us actually are part of our story. That we can understand that we bear the marks of our life in our body, just as, Jesus bears the marks of his crucifixion in his body. And you might look at him and say, well, there's something wrong with you. You have holes. And yet, this is the best news in the world for us. And we are
Right.
so thankful that he has those imperfections that are perfect. Me, I have a giant scar down my left ankle from where I broke it and had to have 2 surgeries. I have, you will never see me in a bikini. I'm sorry, because I've had 4 children and there is a monster that lives under my belly button now. But I would not trade either my scar or my flab that will not ever go away, let's be honest, short of surgery. I would not trade those things for anything because they're part of my story. They're who I am. And I'm grateful for them, even though you won't always find me being as grateful for them as I am right in this moment. But when we look at our imperfections, so often they come out of these moments of pain, of delight, of growth, of whatever, and they're valuable parts of who we are. And let's not wish them away.
Right. Sarah, I'm glad that you talk about sort of the marriage of body positivity and faith, because I kind of, in my involvement with this, and I follow women online who are big influencers in the body positivity community, and a lot of what the body positive community is related to is like bodily autonomy and don't judge me for what I look like, but then it also is extended to like I'm going to eat whatever I want and I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
not work out because it's my body, my choice kind of. When you follow this movement, but you also believe in the faithfulness and goodness of a God who has redeemed us, it has to be a much more mindful balance, because yes, we are beautiful. We've all been created by God, and everything that he makes is good. If you did have the mommy flub, I just have regular flub. I don't have mommy flub. It's like burrito flub. And I decide to wear a two-piece bikini, that's fine. I'm going to look great in it. However, it doesn't take me off the hook from being a good physical steward of the gifts that God has given me.
Mm-hmm.
And so we should thank God for the bodies that he gives us. He gives us abilities to do things with these bodies. Rachel, you said it yourself. You bore 4 children with that body, for crying out loud. Like, that's crazy. We run marathons and walk 5Ks in chicken suits. We climb rocks and perform all and break all these world records. And even if we don't do sort of these high level, like super notorious things, like we're still like loving family members. We're still faithful wives. We're still successful business people. We're still super thoughtful and funny and intelligent. And all of that comes from God. So why wouldn't we take care of what we've been given?
So I think you're right that we are faithful wives, we are good businesswomen. But again, with all of those things, the danger, and I think this is what trips us up in culture and society, that's not where our worth is. And that's sort of like we had Heather on earlier at the beginning of this year, that our worth is not coming from these characteristics of ourselves. Our worth is coming from outside of ourselves. And so, yes, we're beautiful, but not as the world judges beauty. And so people there is this desire to be thought beautiful, but it's not so much that you don't want to be beautiful. You want other people to think you're beautiful, right? That's really what you want.
Yes.
Whether you are or not, you're like, oh, I can declare myself beautiful. But really what you want in what we want in general is you want the other people to say that. You want to know that they think that, because that feels good. And so when we're looking for that, when we look for it from the other people, for that, affirmation, that's where we stumble. And so we know as Christians that our worth and value is coming from outside of ourselves. And so then we're free. We don't need our body to be the thing that gets us that affirmation from other people, because we've already been declared perfect and righteous in God. We don't have to earn it, which is what I think so many people get stuck feeling like. They keep trying to earn that favor and earn that appreciation, because it builds up the gaping hole that we have.
Yeah, and I think women are uniquely challenged by this, because I think much more so than men, we may be loving mothers, faithful wives, successful businesswomen, but if we don't think we're beautiful, we struggle with our worth. And I don't know if we need to blame society for this or what, but it is what it is. If we don't think we're pretty, there's always this nagging thing that says, oh, I wish, I've got all these other things perfectly lined up. I'm so grateful. I just wish I were more beautiful. But Erin's completely right that we need to move away from this as a marker of worth, and look to God to say, where does my worth come from? It comes from you. How do I know it? Because you died for me. And that if Jesus has died for you, then you are part of his bride. And scripture has only beautiful things to say about the bride of Christ.
Right.
That he has made us beautiful. Our beauty comes from him. And if we're looking for it anywhere else, there's a bit of, I don't know, maybe even idolatry there. And so that can be very liberating, I hope, to say that my beauty is a gift.
Yes.
Not something I earn, not something I'm responsible for, but something I receive.
We confess that in the first article of the Creed. The whole explanation of the first article.
Right.
We have been given these things, therefore we serve our God. Yeah.
So the bride of Christ gets to wear the two-piece bathing suit.
Heck yeah!
Totally.
No, I'm glad that you brought that up, because what we're talking about at this point right now, in terms of like stewarding that body, it's not to earn the beauty, because we've already received it. We've already gotten it. We're basically taking care of what God has given to us. He has entrusted in us a body to do things. And so there are ways, some are better than others, if you want to get into qualitative terms, good stewards of that. And so it is a balance, like, and it's obviously practicing good nutrition, practicing exercise. It's getting annual physicals and well women's exams and going to the dentist. It's practicing good hygiene, getting a good amount of rest every night. So yeah, it is all of those sort of like boring regimented things that we have to do. However, we can still do things also like enjoy things like pizza and cake and thank God for delicious foods and
Jello.
and stuff. Like accepting that those things are gifts from God as well.
This really hit home for me in the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, I've been on that struggle bus of not ever feeling like I was skinny enough. I worked in the fitness industry for a long time. I think a little part of me wanted to be in the fitness industry because then I would feel like I actually fit in with the fit people, quote unquote, that I wanted. I wanted to be one of those people, though, so I chose a career that put me in that group of people, and yet I still didn't feel like I fit in. And a couple of years ago, I lost a whole bunch of weight because I was sick. I had a chronic illness that I finally had diagnosed, and I was down like 2 dress sizes, and I looked great. I mean, people were like, "You've lost so much weight. You look awesome. You know, you're skinny." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I feel terrible. I'm so sick." Right. So from that point, in the last 2 years, I have gained almost all that weight back. And that has been a hard struggle to go through, because when I looked fit according to culture and what the world will tell you, I felt horrible. My body was not well. And now that I'm not skinny like that anymore, but my doctor just told me this is the healthiest that I've been since I've been going to see him for the last 3 years. And so there's that disconnect of, I don't look the way that I think I want to, and yet I'm healthier, you know, and I'm eating better. I'm not killing my body with all of that over exercise that I was doing, which is probably partially what caused a chronic illness. You know, I'm exercising in a better way because I don't call it it's not a workout anymore. I don't have to work out. I get to exercise my body. And it's a totally different mindset of having to do things and getting to do things to take care of your body and to be in a healthier space because of the body that we've been given. It's a complete mind switch, but I have been struggling with this exact thing over the last few years. It's a really hard journey to take.
It really is. And I'm glad that you brought that up about exercise too. There are two things that have really come to sort of reframe the way that I think about stewardship of the body. And it is, so concept number one is food is not a punishment and it's not a reward.
Mm-hmm.
Some foods aren't good and some foods aren't, it's not that some are good and some are bad. Food is fuel. The foods that you choose should be able to give you the life that you want to live. In a similar vein, exercise is not a punishment. It's not, I mean, yeah, it hurts. It sucks. I hate doing it. But I also get to rejoice in that because it's a celebration that I can put one foot in front of the other and crank out a mile in 20 minutes. But like, that's what it is. It's a celebration. And we get the privilege of doing these things. And it's that celebration by which we should be living our lives, not to lose a bunch of weight before swimsuit season or, you know, lose 3 inches off of your waist size. We do it because we know that it's good for us, and we know that that is a way to positively, physically steward the gifts that God has given us.
I think it's worth remembering that every time Jesus had a meal, he gave thanks. And we still give thanks. And why? Because food is a gift. Food is a good thing to sustain our life. There's life in food for us. It's also worth remembering that every time Jesus encountered someone who couldn't move their bodies, he fixed that. Rise, get up, and walk, which is an amazing reminder that he gave us the ability to move our bodies. When I tell my kids to get out and exercise, I don't usually say go work out. I say go move your bodies, because this is a really great gift that you are born into a body, and that the movement of it can be such joy and so full of vitality. As soon as we're done here, I'm going running, which is something that I love to do and has been really essential to my mental wellness. And because the body and the mind, the soul, they're not separate.
Yep.
they all live here together in this hot mess that I call Rachel. And so I've recognized that good nutrition and exercise help with those other parts of my body, as you know, of my life as well, that they help me to be a calmer, nicer human being by leaving all that stress out there on the pavement and coming back a little lighter.
Good nutrition and exercise doesn't have to look the same for every person either. There are so many different ways to do either of those things. I mean, good nutrition isn't a box. I mean, there are certain things that you know, your ratios of whatever, your macronutrients, but that doesn't have to be the same for every person. And exercise, moving your body, there are so many different ways to do that. If you hate running, don't run. I love biking. Not everyone loves biking. I mean,
Do not love biking.
right. So
Don't do it.
Then don't do it. It's fine. But find things that bring you joy so that it doesn't feel like you have to do it. This is a celebration of these bodies that we've been given.
And this is not easy. Like, I'm sitting here just talking off the cuff, like, but this right here where I'm sitting has been 34 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
And
Same.
It has come after years and years and years of toil and struggle and mental anguish and losing and gaining and losing and gaining. So it's not, and even now, I struggle with it. Sometimes I'll catch myself in the mirror and I'll see like, oh, I thought that chin was gone. And it like, I just catch myself and I see a chin, or I'll see myself in an unflattering photo and I'm like, gosh darn it. But the fact of the matter is, this body is still something that God has given to me, and it is a beautiful thing. So here are some of my tips, and guys, feel free to jump in with your own, because it's not easy. And I've been so ingrained in this culture that I don't even know if I'm changing minds anymore or if I'm just preaching to the choir, but I'm hoping that, you know, this podcast falls on ears that haven't heard stuff like this before, and it changes it starts to reframe how you think about your body and how you treat it. I often still find myself giving into society's expectations of what I'm supposed to look like. I am 5'3", I'm 230 pounds. By society's standards, I am not a beautiful person. I'm not a healthy person. But we have to remember, kind of like what Sarah said, healthy looks a bunch of different ways. And so you need to do what you can to be fit, to be active, to eat right. And so it can be difficult to make physical stewardship a priority. Sometimes rigidity of physical stewardship can lead to eating disorders or obsessive compulsions or, you know, things like that. Sometimes it's hard to just step into a regimen. Like, I have days where it is a small victory to like get out of bed. Like, everyone has days like that. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's 4:00. I haven't showered yet. I haven't brushed my teeth yet. I'm going to, but like sometimes we have days like that, and that's why we have grace. There are things in our lives that God gives us in addition to these great bodies that He's given us. He's given us tools and relationships to enable physical stewardship. He gives us friends and family. He gives us podcast groups. He gives us spouses. He empowers us to pray. He gives us people like dietitians and coaches and just educators, people in the field who you know, care for us and want us to live good, healthy lives.
I think one part of that in my advocacy group that I'm in, we you know, try to get other women on bikes and whatever. But there's a phrase that we use: empowered women empower women,
Right.
which, you know, you can go on a feminist bent with that if you want to. But the point of that is that we, as sisters of the body of Christ, we can lift each other up. We can encourage each other. We can tell each other that, you know, you are a great mom. You look wonderful today. You know, I love that dress on you because it makes you look great. You did a great job with whatever you did. We can do that with each other.
Right.
We have those relationships. We can build each other up with this.
And
Yeah,
we need
absolutely.
that. Going personal here, I struggled for several years with, and I'm not even going to say my weight. I'm going to say my health and fitness level. And this is going to sound so well, Lutheran, but maybe not in a good way. Because I felt that it was selfish to take time to exercise. I felt that it was selfish to buy the healthy foods that I liked, that I needed to spend, that I would spend all of my hours on caring for my family, on doing my job well. I would cook food that other people liked, which in my house is macaroni and cheese and hot dogs. And that if there were a few dregs left over at the end of the day, maybe once a week I could go for a run. And it led me to a bad place, and a place where I wasn't able to serve as well, ironically. And so part of my own journey has been able to recognize and receive opportunities to move my body and eat good food, and to accept those gifts and not turn them back and say, oh, no, it's okay. I'm fine. What do you need? That, as Lutheran Christians, we understand that it's good to receive the gifts, and you don't have to always be earning. And so as I've gotten into this different mindset, it has been life-changing for myself. I'm setting a better example for my children now, and it's just been good all around. So it's not selfish to take time to exercise. Yes, you can go overboard. It's not selfish to say, okay, you guys like the macaroni? That's great. I made myself a salad. That's what I'm going to eat. That's okay. All right. Hopefully, I'm getting off my soapbox now. Back to you,
it's
Brie.
fine.
You made a really, really, really good point, though, about being good examples, especially women who have people who look up to them, whether that's being a mom or a teacher or whatever. Being that role model of modeling what it actually means to have good stewardship of the body is huge for young girls, because there's so much of that billion-dollar culture being thrown at them all the time, especially on social media. Because young kids are on social media. It's what all of us do. Having that thrown in your face all the time is so hard. So having good role models of women who can speak the gospel and speak about stewardship of the body in this way that is countercultural is so critically important.
Absolutely. So a couple of other things as you sort of work on taking on this new mindset in how you physically steward your body. Things that I would stress: don't measure success in the ways that you would traditionally measure success. Don't weigh yourself every day. Don't measure your value by your pant size. Those are not measures of your worth in Christ. They can be markers of how your body's changing, but certainly don't hang your hat on those things. One of the things that I like to do in this in sort of this worldview is to add instead of subtract. So like from a diet perspective, I'm not going to cut chocolate cake out of my diet. I'm sorry, it's not happening. It's delicious. God made it. But I'm going to make sure that I have one piece of produce at every meal, or 3 to 5 servings a day, like to balance it out. Because I know that there are vitamins and minerals and nutrition in broccoli that I'm not going to get when I'm eating the chocolate cake. And so it's finding that balance. It's living in both realms, and it's all good because it all comes from God. Acknowledge the journey. You know, we all have different levels of health and different requirements for good physical stewardship, and just, you may backslide, but every day is a new day. And celebrate small victories and celebrate the victories of the people around you. I'm certainly rooting for anybody who is sort of trying to reframe how they think about their bodies. And so I'm happy to talk to anybody about that might need help or guidance or have questions about it.
one of the things when I was on this journey of losing a bunch of weight because I was sick and then gaining it back because I was healthy was giving myself a space to go to secondhand store and to find clothes that I loved that fit without looking at sizes, just picking stuff that I loved, that I felt confident in. Because when you think you feel confident or when you think you look good in something, it totally changes your mindset. But not caring about the size or not caring about, what other people might think about it. Finding things that build your own confidence too.
Thrift store is a great place to do that, by the way, because half the stuff there is shrunk down, so you can't really trust the size labels anyway.
Yeah, the sizes are all over the place.
I would be curious to hear from Erin, actually, because you do a fantastic job of looking good in your clothes.
It's true.
Yeah, I was going to say that another approach to this, and what I certainly found from my own experience, is that making my own clothes, it shifted my perspective on my body, because it became less of it was no longer an issue of my thighs are too big for those jeans. It's those jeans aren't the right thing for my body. It's not that my body is wrong. Those jeans are wrong. And so when you sew, you fix the problem. The problem is not your body. The problem is the clothes. And when you sew, you make it so that it works to begin with. But I don't sew everything. I sew a lot of what I make, but it also has changed then my perspective when I go shopping, because it's no longer, I no longer have the opinion that it is somehow my body that is wrong here. It's that, this brand is not, no, they are not made for me. And that it shifts it from being that I'm the problem to that's not going to work for me. No.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. You just changed my life, Erin. Yeah. Next time I try on a dress and it doesn't fit, it's not my fault. It's the dress's fault.
It absolutely is.
But I think that's a shared experience among, I think, probably every woman. I've had this conversation with so many people that jeans shopping is so stinking hard because so many of us are two different sizes just because of the way we're built. Mm-hmm. So it's so frustrating to not find stuff that fits and then thinking, oh, well, that means that there's something wrong with me because none of these clothes fit. Right. But that's just the industry telling you what you should be, and it doesn't work that way.
Right. Absolutely right. Exactly. So, in closing, give the dang beach whatever body you got going on right now. And yes. If you don't want to wear a two-piece, that's fine. Do what you're comfortable.
I don't.
I'm not here to shame anybody into wearing a two-piece swimsuit if they don't want to.
When tankinis started being a thing, like when I was, 16, that was life-changing.
That's awesome.
Yep. Also swim dresses. Swim dresses are great.
Swim dresses. Now they have rash guards. Man, where were those when I was 16? I would have loved it. So you are all beautiful. The people I'm speaking to right now, and the people, if you're listening to this right now, you are beautiful. The physical flaws that you might think that you have, or that you do have, or that society thinks that you have, they do not rob you of your value, and they don't nullify the goodness of God's creation. Because you are a good creation of God, like the peak of his creation. We see this in the Bible too. Take care of yourself. We all have different requirements for what this means, but just remember that by eating foods that are healthy and being active in a way that fits your lifestyle, you're taking care of the gifts that God has given you. And wherever you're at in sort of your journey of being a good physical steward, you're not alone. I look much different than Sarah, but even after this hour, I can tell that we have a bunch of shared experiences that have shaped who we are, and neither of us is alone in this.
Absolutely.
And whatever the case may be, God surrounds us with each other and fellow humans and uplifts you always in prayer, and we can pray for each other and just love the gift that God has given us in our bodies.
I just want to say, because you told us and you need to hear it too, Brienne, you are beautiful. I have thought this
Yay.
for a long time, and I still think it. And I'm so glad that you're in my life. And I want to thank you for just giving us an opportunity to get it all out there. I don't think I've ever told anybody how I feel about my postpartum waist issues. But thank you. This is a good thing for us to talk and think about. And from a theological perspective, our value is in Him.
And it's good to talk about it. So if you haven't had the conversation with somebody, have the conversation with a friend. It does make it alleviates the, I don't know, there's like a pressure and a burden when you don't talk about this with somebody else. And when you actually do talk about it and realize, and you will find it, that they actually struggle with the same things, it makes it easier, and you can then encourage somebody and they can encourage you. So if this isn't something that you've already talked about with somebody else, take a chance and choose wisely, but take a chance and have the conversation and talk about what you struggle with, or say, hey, listen to this podcast and then let's talk. Use that as an excuse. So talk about it with someone, because it is easier and less oppressive when you actually are open about it, and you'll be an encouragement to somebody else as well.
Absolutely. This is such a great conversation to have with our friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts about this, ladies in Lutheran Ladies Lounge land. Join our discussion in our Facebook group, the Lutheran Ladies Lounge. We'd love to hear your thoughts, your opinions, your own journey through all of this as well, or your stepping off point that you're going to start thinking differently about your physical appearance and stewardship of your body. Listen to our podcasts at kfuo.org/Lutheran Ladies Lounge, or find us on your podcasting app. You're listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Erin.
I'm beautiful.
And I'm agreeing. Yes, you are.
Views and opinions expressed on the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast may not represent the official position of the management or ownership of KFUO Radio, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. The Lutheran Ladies Lounge is produced by KFUO Radio and available at kfuo.org or wherever you get your podcasts. Join our community on Facebook in the Lutheran Ladies Lounge.
You're listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Erin.
I'm Bree.
No. What? You are, I was so sure you were going to do I'm beautiful. Come on. Start it again, Sarah.
All right, fine. Start over.
Yeah, start over.
You're listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Erin.
I'm beautiful.
And I'm agreeing. Yes, you are.
Yes, that's right.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's the outtake on that one.
Yep.